Hello, and today is episode 29. And my name is Torsten Tabel. Thank you so much for joining me today. And today's topic is going to be, or the question that I'm going to be looking at is, are you different? And really what prompted this particular, topic was just looking how often we are always looking at being the same, always trying to fit in. And in many ways, we do it in ways that we don't even realize that we're trying to fit in, that we're trying to be like everybody else. And so what was interesting, I had a meeting this morning with my friend Kim, and we're in the middle of, not in the middle, we're almost finishing the creation part of putting together a program. And in this program, it was really cool because when we look at ideas, when we look at adding things or creating things, she has a different perspective than I do on certain things, and she has different information, she's had different experiences. And so this adds to when we are creating a program together. Same thing, I'm also creating another program. This one's slightly different. This one's based on business. And it's really interesting. This other program, I'm doing it together with Carlina. And same thing, when we're working together, we have different experiences and we have different awarenesses, and we look at things in a slightly different way, which actually contributes to creating something together. And what it does is it actually creates something that is more complete and more dynamic than if we had done any of those things just on our own. And so it's the addition of somebody else's energy and somebody else's awarenesses and also other people's the way that each of us perceive is slightly different. And so it's really, when you start playing in that way and you start looking at these kinds of things where I always see that in a creation process with somebody else, that creating with somebody else is actually, the difference is the strongness. The difference between two individuals is what creates more. It's not actually the sameness. Sameness just creates limitation and creates the same thing, which doesn't have any possibility to expand in any way. And so it's really through these two types of things that I just become aware of, like, how many times do we look for ways to be like other people instead of acknowledging that we're different, and then looking at all the ways that we are different from other people and seeing how that can be a contribution to everyone, because there's literally no one on this earth that is exactly like you. There's people that are similar in ways, for sure, but there's not one single person that is exactly the same. And so that difference is what you contribute and expand to what else is possible, and also to expand the energy of creating a completely different world and a completely different reality that we currently have. And it's also interesting in that constantly, as you're constantly looking to be the same, you don't realize then that you are different, and then the way you see the world is different than any other person. And most of us function from the place that we live in a way that we think we're all the same, and so then whatever you perceive and whatever you're aware of, you assume that everyone else is aware of all of that, which isn't actually true. What you're aware of could be something that nobody else on this entire planet is aware of. What you see as a possibility, you may be the only person that sees that as a possibility, and there may be not anyone else on the planet that sees the possibility that you see. But with this assumption that we're all the same, and that we all function from the same place, and that everyone sees what you see, that's what creates the limitation that we currently live in. That's what creates the same thing that happens over and over and over again, because you don't realize the gift of your difference, that you are different, that you aren't the same. These are the things that, if we were all willing to acknowledge our differences and realize that whatever we are aware of and whatever we see as a possibility, it is very likely no one else sees that as a possibility. And as you start talking to other people and you communicate with them in many different ways, other people can maybe start seeing things that you see. You have to be the first person to live from the place where you know what is possible and move in that direction. It could very well be that you may be the only person that sees that as a possibility, and that as you create from that place, it may take a long time for other people to be aware of it. And for some people, they may never be aware of it or be able to be aware of it. And so it's really this choice of choosing that, and also having the awareness that this difference that we be, that we are, that we show up as every day, that this is actually the gift of being who we are. It's the gift of us. It's the gift of you. It is really, that is really the acknowledgement, and also the place of being aware of that's where the biggest amount of change is possible, and where it's the biggest amount of change can occur, is by acknowledging that your difference is the doorway to creating a different possibility. And instead of going into the wrongness of being different than everybody else, it is really acknowledging that as a strength, as it's almost like that's the secret weapon that you are, that no one else has, that no one else is in this very moment. And it's really, I think what stops a lot of people, or what is difficult for a lot of people, or what they see as a difficulty, is that because no one understands it, they have a sense that no one can support them, or they don't see that it's the people in the world that have created, a tremendous amount of change. We're people that had this vision, and they basically had this knowing that whatever happened in the world, they were going to make this thing that they knew was possible, they were going to make it happen no matter what. They had this kind of drive, or this internal understanding that this had to come into this reality, this had to be created for whatever reason they had. And they didn't allow other people to tell them that it wasn't possible. Often when you will speak to people and you have these ideas and you have these visions and these possibilities, they will automatically kill them or try to kill them and make you wrong for them. And if you didn't buy into that lie, what would be possible? What would you create? What could you create? What have you created that you probably never even acknowledged that you've created to this point? And so it's like really using that whole being you as a gift type thing. And what if you decided that it wasn't a wrongness, and that it was possible, that no matter what anyone said or did, that you would never give up, never give in, and never quit? What if you just kept on going and kept on going and kept on going, despite what anyone said? And you just may at some point have people that will eventually start supporting you. And it may be people that don't see what is possible, but maybe they see that you are a possibility in a way that you don't even see yourself. And they may not see what you're trying to create, but they may see that you have this capacity to create things that other people aren't willing to create and are willing to support you in that way. It was really interesting. I was reading a book recently, and it was about real estate, actually, creating a real estate, I guess, empire to some degree. And in that book, he talked about a couple people that had done interviews with people at different periods of time, different periods of history, I guess is the best way to say it, which isn't actually really accurate, but they had somebody recently interview something like 5,000 people, and they were famous people, like movie stars and rock stars, and then also people that were successful in the sense of CEOs of companies or entrepreneurs or that kind of thing. And so one of the common threads was the people that did create amazing things and were seen as successful people in the world were people that had support. They had support most of the time from their parents or parent. They had support from their spouse, and they also had faith in something, whether it was a religion or something to that effect. But really, it was this faith, and really what that is this belief in something outside of themselves, and also that would be tied in with themselves, of being able to really have this knowing, or this never give up, never give in, never quit sort of energy that they got through some sort of faith in whatever that was. And so this was one of the components of creating that showed up throughout all the people that were interviewed, that ended up being successful in a sense. And so you will, and I get that most of these people, the people that were supportive of them maybe didn't necessarily see what they saw, but what they did see is they saw that that they had an ability to create something different. They had an ability to see through whatever they looked as what they would like to create in the world. And so it'd be interesting for you to look at, like, who do you have in your life that supports you? Do you have some sort of support? And I also get it doesn't require to have those three different support systems. I'm sure the more support you have, for sure, is going to create more in your life. And also, if you don't have any support, really look at that. See what that is, and also, in some cases, you also looking at how much support do you actually have. Like, you may say, oh no one supports me, no one can see what I see. But is that actually true? I find in most cases pretty much everyone has somebody that will support them. And like, look at your life, and it may look in a completely different way. It may look like you have, that you don't think you have some support, but if something really turned in your life and you just required assistance for someone, who would you go to? And would they be there for you? And they may not be there for you in your everyday life necessarily, but they may be there for you in a way that you've never acknowledged before. So it's really looking at that. It's really looking at all the places that you actually are supported. Because I really get that most people are supported in many, many different ways. We don't always see that we are supported because it may not look like what we think it should look like. And so, and so what if you, so when you do realize you have support and you have people that are there for you, that have your back in your life, what would that also create? It would also create more of that showing up. And what if you could ask for it? What if you could ask for more of that to show up as well? What if you could ask for more people to show up in your life that are there to support what you know and what you know you can create, even if they don't fully get what it is that you're looking to create? And so, and the other thing is, if you're sitting here going, yeah, but I don't have any awarenesses and I don't have any gifts, and being that I am like everybody else, what if that actually wasn't true either? What if you, and if you're really curious about it, then I really ask, would you be open to asking every day, what do I see that other people don't see? And what awarenesses do I have, and what do I perceive that other people don't perceive? And so if you ask that every day, you'll start to get a sense of what you're aware of that other people might not be aware of. And so it'll give you that sense that, and it'll get you to notice that, okay, what I am actually aware of and what I'm choosing and what I perceive isn't the same as everyone else. And then you get to see how that shows up in your life, and how that and how maybe you would show up also different and choose different if you're aware of that information, if you're aware of the places that you are different, and the places that you see the world in a different way that other people may not see. And then comes the place of then actually choosing to go there, actually choosing to play in a place that maybe you haven't chosen before. And it's kind of like choosing beyond what you're currently choosing and seeing what shows up. And that's where things usually for most people get really uncomfortable. And a lot of times, because you're aware of these energies or these things, oftentimes how to use that to your advantage and how to implement them in this world, you go to the how, and you're like, how? I don't know how to do that. And what if it wasn't about the how? What if you're like, okay, I want to change the world. I have this awareness that that I am different in this way. What's the word? Words are not showing up completely. It's like, instead of looking for the how, look at what it is that you'd like to create, and from an energetic point of view, and then ask, what would it take to make this happen? What would it take to actualize this? And just ask those questions. And then after that is really about being aware of things, following the energy, connecting with people, and really playing with that energy that even the people that you connect with maybe aren't aware of it, but they have something that will contribute to creating this different reality. And that's really, I think, the thing that for a lot of people, and especially people that will be watching this, are people that are seekers. They're looking for something, whatever it is. You're always interested in looking at something new, seeing what else is possible. And it's really when you start realizing that instead of waiting for other people to show up in your world, what if it was you're the one that you're actually seeking? What if you're the one that you're looking for, and you're the one that you're looking to show up? And we never really considered that as a possibility. We're always, and I speak of kind of what happened in my life. What happened was I did a lot of traveling. I lived in a lot of different places in the world. And I was always looking for something. In the last sort of traveling that I did, I was looking for a community that was created in a certain way. And I thought I'd found a few. And when it came time to actually, in one situation, it was to actually go there and check it out, the energy of the whole thing just was not what I thought it was. And so I didn't even end up going there. And so I kept on traveling around the world, and I kept on looking for sort of a group of people that had a certain energy. And I never found that group of people. What I did become aware of after, and this is like many years, I did become aware of that really the search with the energy I was looking for was for people that had the same energy as me. I was looking for similar energy. And I realized that the energy that I was looking for was me. That was actually the energy of it. I was actually looking for myself. And so when I had that awareness that I could only put words to years later, actually, that I basically stopped traveling. I stopped traveling because I was looking around the world for this energy that I already was. And so the journey now is different. And it doesn't mean that I won't go traveling, and I will, but that was the main, for me, the main drive for traveling was trying to find something somewhere else in the world. And it was, what it really came down to was this acknowledgement of this place of acknowledging oneself. Like I probably for the first time ever acknowledged myself. And again, I didn't really even get that that's what was going on, and wasn't able to put words to it at that particular point in time. And it isn't until now that I'm really able to express it in that way. And so now it's really about, for me, and there's always this element of seeking within me, like creating more, going beyond what currently is. And it's that going beyond that kind of keeps you going and keeps you engaged in life. And actually that's the part that's kind of fun. You go beyond where you've gone before. And so now it's looking at, so how can I use me to change this reality? And it's funny in that, in looking at that and playing with that, I've also come to realize that there are many instances where by being who I am, I realize that I do change things. And that often comes through other people pointing it out to me. I tend to be a little dense and don't seem to notice that as much as other people do. And so it's really, for me, the question now is like, so by being the energy that I am, the difference that I am, how can I use that to change the world? What can I be or do different that I've done in the past to create more dynamic change? And I think that's the thing that is also something that is fun, because it's something that I've never actually chosen before. And so it's really playing with that for me, that's kind of what I'm looking at, choosing different. And sometimes I don't want to choose anything. Sometimes I just want to go take a nap, which I do. I sometimes just take a nap, like I did this morning. So it's really this acknowledgement of the difference that we are, that really creates the change, and then it really does give you a choice to choose something else. And what if you were able to choose, if you could just choose one thing that was to you completely outrageous, and you looked at it right now and you said, like, oh yeah, I'd like to create this, or I'd like to do this or whatever, but to you it was like so crazy outrageous that it was completely impossible. What if you could actualize that thing? Just as one example, what if you were so different that you could actually actualize that one completely ridiculous, outrageous thing? And what if that was your target? And you said to yourself, I know this is completely ridiculous, this is completely outrageous, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this happen, even if I don't really think it's possible in this moment. What if you made that your target? Something way beyond your ability to comprehend as it being real for you. And what if you wrote it down and said, this is what I'm going for? And what if you started to look at, okay, so if I was actually going to choose this, what would I have to do in this 10 seconds to get me going to that place? And see what shows up. And maybe the difference that you are could actually actualize that. And so on that note, that's where I'm going to stop. And thank you very much for joining this week. And we'll see you again next week and see what shows up. Talk to you later. Bye.